we are on episode 46 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. If you want to grow, scale, get in, get out of the junk removal, recycling, demolition, deconstruction industry, or you're just fascinated with what we do all day, well, you've come to the right place. As always, I'm Andy Weins, joining you from the great state of Wisconsin, calling Milwaukee home. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the man they call Bubba, Casey Bubba Lawrence from the great state of Texas, the Big D, Dallas. Casey, how the hell are you?
Pretty good, man. We're dealing with our annual winter freeze storm, so everything's iced over, shutting down the towns and cities because, that's just how Texas is, man.
Everything is bigger in Texas, even the storm. So let's get into it, Casey. What are we talking about today?
Man, Andy, today we have a great guest. His name's Dylan Pruitt. I actually met Dylan a couple years ago when I was running J-Dog, and I needed a way to two things. One, I needed to make a little bit of extra money on the side, but two, I needed to recycle better. And the one thing we kept getting was e-waste. And I was like, why are we throwing this away? This has to be worth something to somebody. And then I found Dylan, and him and I started working together. So now he's going to be on the show, and he's talking to us about e-waste and that whole chestnut. So let's get it started.
Let's get to it. All right, Dylan, welcome to the show. We're talking e-waste. So let's start with your background. How did you end up here today?
Honestly, I see both of your guys' stuff constantly online. I'm a big fan, very big fan. I love following your guys' mission, your story, everything that happens. And with me being a veteran myself, that was a easy way to get a hold of you guys, and that's how I met with Casey at least before. That's how I tried to get with J-Dog to try to help some of the different locations that were nearby to us in St. Louis to handle all their electronic waste. So
I like it. So how'd you get into the e-waste industry to start?
Oh man, I've been doing it for about 7 years now, but I've always been real environmentally conscious, and the real pusher for me was after going overseas to third world countries during my military service. You really get to see the effects on the environment, what actually happens, and it's absolutely terrible. And that was like the biggest push for me that really motivated me to do something, because I was aircraft maintenance in the Air Force, and we dealt with so much scrap metal. So my first foot in the door, I guess, was scrap metal, and then as my knowledge of that started, gaining traction, I started learning more about e-waste and other recycling, avenues. So that's how, and then I've always been a big fan of electronics. So that's how I've been doing it from here.
I like it. All right. And what about e-waste in particular jumped out to you?
Honestly, it's cooler. It's more abundant than, it's becoming more and more abundant every day. It's still a very, very infant industry right now. There's very, very few places that accept e-waste. If they do, there's still, even the ones that do, they still barely tap into it. There's so many different avenues. It's everywhere, from local lawyer's office to a doctor's office. Every household by you, everywhere has it. So there's literally infinite potential for getting it. So the market opportunity is absolutely massive.
I got so into e-waste, I got interested into it when I called you, Dylan. I don't even remember this, but I actually started doing it myself, right, in my shop.
Yep.
I was taking apart computers, taking apart radios, you name it. And I remember two things. The biggest two things I remember: one, it was very labor intensive to start, because you have to either have it down to a rhythm, and every minute is money. And two is, if you don't have them into different grades, you're losing money. And I had to find it the hard way. Like, for instance, computers. There's like 5 different grades of hardboards, or motherboards. And I was like, did not know that shit. This one looks cool. It's a gamer one. Oh, yeah, that ain't worth as much as this one. Well, why not? It looks cooler. So, I had to learn a lot more just based off of talking to you and YouTube. And obviously the stuff you find on YouTube, it's going to scream gold, silver, platinum before you even get into it. So you get excited and you start doing this. You're like, man, fuck that. That wasn't even like a 16th of an ounce of anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing this, Dylan, so walk us through the process. From pickup to send out, how do you process e-waste? And you've been doing this a couple of years now, right? So
yeah.
How does it work with you?
Yeah, so exactly to piggyback what you were saying about, all the videos scream gold and precious metals. That drives me absolutely nuts because whenever you do it as a hobby, it's a whole different ballgame from doing it as, in a commercial scale, because here you have overhead costs, you have labor, you have all that stuff. So that's what really hurts it, I guess. So those kind of people who do that, it kind of gives like a false image of how easy it is to actually do. Because like we get phone calls all the time from random Billy Joe scrappers, saying, well, it has gold or silver, but it's like it takes thousands and thousands of pounds of just that one kind of board to even equate an ounce of gold. So it's much easier said than done, at least on the refining side. But to get back to your question, sorry, honestly, we pick it up, we bring it back, we have like an inbound staging area where we fill up our gaylords of material. Whenever we do pickups, we try to organize it just so it's easier to help save time on the back end. So we try to do desktops together, laptops, and so on. Some stuff we have like a miscellaneous category, so that's just kind of a mixture, jumble of everything, from house phones to, computer keyboards, computer mice, just really low grade, low quality, low recovery stuff. But yeah, we'll bring it in, we pull it out. We try to assess it to see if there's any, if it's worth it more to scrap versus if there's more of like a resale avenue for it, because that's another big thing now with the market, with the labor markets changing. We've had to really change a focus to resale than to only focus on precious metals, because like, let's say one laptop only will recover like, and this is even like on the dealer scrapyard side, maybe $6 to $7 worth of precious metals. But if you could resell that, it's sad. It really is. If you can refurbish, resell it, you can get, $50 to $100. So it's much better financially and environmentally speaking to refurbish if you can. And most e-waste places do that now as well.
Yeah, I actually found just wiping laptops and selling for $20 was actually paid more than scrapping them.
Well, you're upcycling, right? There's that fancy fucking word that people say and they don't know what that means, right? I hate the word upcycle because I get it, right? It's in the cycle, right? Yeah. But whatever, because I always think of recycle. But no, what you're doing is, you're reusing, or we always talk about reusing or repurposing, right? And then that reuse is refurbish, right? Refurbish is in the reuse space or reusing it. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of work to get it back to a reuse state. But almost always it takes less energy and therefore a greater value, right? Which means more money to you. That's almost what it is, right? When you keep things in their most present state, whatever that state is, right? You're using less energy and it has more value. I don't care if it's a fucking, a piece of furniture or e-waste or a pallet, right? Yeah. Reuse is always the
best option.
Always going to be your best option. The only time that it's not reuse, right, if it's is when something becomes obsolete, or the commodity value is so great, right? You take older, really, really old computers, right, and they got a lot more gold and silver because they weren't as efficient building them, but the technology is obsolete, right? And then you go even farther, you go back to computers from the 70s or 80s. Now there's the repurposed value, right, because they were a computer and now they're a fucking museum piece, and now the value is like tenfold sometimes, right? You find some of those old Apple computers. I mean, they're whatever. Apple ones are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars because there's so few. I mean, this is Pawn Stars on YouTube researchability, right? That's where I get that shit from, right? I haven't found an Apple one yet. I'll let you know if I come across one.
I've only gotten Apple IIs. I've never gotten an Apple one yet.
I've had a couple. We've had a couple Apple. Actually, I made more money. I got an Apple II. It was probably 4 years ago. The box was worth more than the fucking, like the unit itself. I can't remember. I think it was like $400 to $500 for the Apple II, but with the box, it was like $1,200.
Yeah, people absolutely love that. You can go ahead right through there, sir.
Anyways, e-waste box. Well, boxes in general, but especially when it comes to electronics. Hell, I got an original Nintendo Zelda in the box on my shelf over there. Right, because it came in a box. I was like, "This is dope." I don't know what it's worth, but it made it to my shelf. So the top 1% of shit I think is cool.
I think, and with e-waste, the funny thing is, this generation, right? Like my kids, especially my kids, they're not going to understand or appreciate really the technology we all grew up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you break open these like VCRs, for instance, I remember breaking open these VCRs. I'm just like, these things are built to last.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Holy crap. And you break them open and it's so simple of what it does, but there's a lot of moving parts and it ain't worth shit. Now, if you keep it together and resell it at a thrift shop, you're going to yield more on that than you are just to take it apart and scrap it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, believe it or not, man, there's still a huge market for like VCRs, DVD combos. We sell those still like hotcakes. I never knew like some of these weird resale markets existed before I got into this. Like we even sell TV remotes, like it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. If for people listening, I had a guy, actually one of the guys that I do consulting work with, he hit me up. Actually, I'm looking, he goes, TV and mattress shipping. He's like, where's the best place to take TVs and mattresses? The local recyclers, like I have too much volume, right? And that's what happens. As you scale this business, I got a guy named TV Steve. I've had TV Steve for years that would take 2 TVs in for me, right? I pay him $5 a TV or $10 TV, whatever it's been. I think it's $5 a TV, and he takes them in. Well, there's a finite, he can only take so many in a given period of time, right? And now we work with a certified e-waste handler, and we stepped up our game. And through the years, that's what's going to happen. As you scale, you need these more resources. But I can tell you some things, like you just said, TV VCR combos, those put aside. I'll put money on it that there is an eBay reseller that will take those off your hands for $15 to $20 a piece because they're going to flip them for $75, $60 to $75, maybe even $100. I know. And the weird thing is, I used to sell them 20 years ago when I worked at Best Buy. I remember selling these like a Toshiba DVD VCR combo that had the DVD R, so it could read the rewrite, the burn copies. Right, that was like $159 unit. They're almost worth the same today because there's a lot of medium that's only available on VHS or on DVD, historic medium, and people still use it for different purposes, whether it's nostalgic or there's a real purpose behind it. So for people that think certain technology is obsolete, well, it's like, no, it's obsolete to 99% of people, but you got to find that 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I started watching randomly. I was flying in. I was in Phoenix this last week, and then went to L.A. But I was flying back from L.A. last night. I started watching a documentary, the Pez Outlaw. It's about Pez dispenser and this guy that was hawking them back in the early '90s, going to Europe. I haven't finished watching it yet, but again, when people ask where do you get your knowledge from, Pawn Stars, documentaries on Netflix, and talking to guys like Dylan,
and Shark Tank.
And then also. And oh my God, yes, Shark Tank every episode.
I love that show. I still watch it.
I watch Shark Tank like it's watching the Packers win the Super Bowl. I get fucking stoked when someone comes out with a good pitch. And when someone comes out with a shit pitch or doesn't know their numbers, it's like watching someone bomb on stage.
Or you're watching it and you see this great product and you're just like, that makes so much sense. It's so simple. How the hell did they, how did no one else think about that?
Yeah, why did I think of that shit?
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
You're telling me there's a thing I can put on a table that holds wrapping paper and cuts it at the same time?
Oh my God, that guy was great. He was like mid-20s.
Yeah.
And it was like 17 cents to make, and he sells it for $10. It's like,
oh man,
I want a piece of PVC with a fucking edge.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Yeah, no, that guy was fucking, and he was super. Like he wasn't full like sham wow.
Oh no,
like scrub daddy. But he definitely had the.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been to a few state fairs and pitched that thing.
Oh yeah,
I still hate that.
Billy Mays OxyClean, not that level.
No. Billy Mays. He made it onto what was he was on South Park with the he shit himself. What was it? Oh, the OxyClean. Like you can shit your pants. Like you can have a full Chipotle burrito and shit your pants. OxyClean.
I love that show.
So Dylan. So do you charge for picking up your e-waste? And then I'm really curious. This is my second question after that. What is the one thing you can tell all of our listeners that is not near worth as much as you might think at first glance?
Yes. First question. Yes, we do. We don't charge for businesses because that's kind of like our incentive for doing the pickup. Because unfortunately, and I'm sure you deal with it too. I'm sure you dealt with the junk removal and everything else. But people, a lot of times, you can go right through there, sir. You just go right through there. They'll be
For all you listening, Dylan's working part-time at the cleaners.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that
So our office is so people come in right there. So right behind the computer. But yeah, so we do. We charge for residential pickups. Because that's generally residentials won't accumulate as much value. So to help compensate for the time for that, we charge for residential. For businesses, no. If a business would have like small amounts of it's just steel or something like that, that's not really like we still handle scrap metal, but electronics are our main focus because. That's one thing people have to remember as well. Scrap metal is literally like the main byproduct of e-waste. So scrap metal is still very important to electronic recyclers.
You can't have one without the other.
Right. So yes. So we do charge, and then items we charge for, which God, it still bugs me because like we still get people who will refuse to pay, like the disposal fees. Because, we always hear the same thing. It's like, I have to pay, because we charge $40 for tube TVs because we have to ship them out very far because there's very few lead smelters even open still. And that's what they do. They melt them down. They separate the lead from the glass.
Really?
And they're incredibly hazardous. They're lined they're lined with phosphorus powder and they contain mercury. It's like a massive cube of cancer. So, but people will be like, no, I'll take care of that. Which that just means they're just going to throw it in their dumpster or trash can. So it kind of eats you up because sometimes you want to just swallow the cost, but also you can't either. But that's another thing that was probably the TVs.
Yeah.
For what you said on people who think it's worth something because people are like, well, it still works, but there's no, there's TVs are so dang hard to move right now. Especially CRT tube style. The only ones who want those still are like vintage gamers and stuff like that. So that's really the only market. That's the biggest one that we get, pushback from is having to charge for TVs, which even though we're cheaper than most of the big players around us.
Well, I remember you telling me that even the big giant flat screen TVs have less like actual material in them over trash. Like you actually told me like, unfortunately, you're better off financially trashing a TV because it doesn't even have enough metal to scrap it in a tin.
No, it's like a dishwasher. Dishwasher's like majority plastic. Like why scrapyards even take those is beyond me. But I don't know.
Well, I can tell you why. I can tell you why they take them because everybody else takes them.
Yeah.
I had I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. My appliance guy, Darren, he was on one of our earlier episodes when we were talking appliance waste and appliance recycling. But he had a contract with one of the big furniture stores here that does TV appliance and furniture. And what they said to him was like, hey, we'll give he had filled up a 53-foot semi. He had to pay, I think it was $11 per appliance because it was about double the scrap value, right, at the time. But part of the contract was you had to take all appliances. So he got stuck with over-the-range microwaves. So at least those were like basically break even, right, or a little bit of a loss because they got weight to them and they're mostly sheet iron. But yeah, he had to take all the dishwashers because they said it's all or nothing deal. Yeah. And the reason why scrapyards take the dishwashers, same reason. It's an all or nothing deal. And all you need, once you have a stainless steel door on that dishwasher, you're not pulling the stainless off, right? So at least they'll throw it in with the sheet iron and eventually someone will, do better than break even. And dishwashers don't weigh that much. The other thing with a dishwasher is, most actually do all of them have? They all have to have motors in them, right? So there is a motor in them, right? And
they're typically like aluminum wound too now.
Yeah, aluminum round too. Yeah, and you're not going to take that one out, right? Like I take motors out of some things. Back in the day, basically, the cheaper the washer, the better it was to take a motor out because like you get a crappy roper, for example, it's all plastic housing underneath there. But you get a Whirlpool, it's steel, so you can't bust out with a hammer. You actually it ain't worth it at that point. So going into the underside of dishwashers, like you can take that motor out, but it's not worth your time. So you think about that versus stove. A stove is just sheet iron and about 3 wires. Like there's not much to work with on a stove.
Right, and that's why we've even had to with metal prices not really going up with overhead labor, everything else, we've had to really change around what we're even dismantling anymore. Because now most of our stuff we just ship out, complete as is because it's more cost effective to do so.
No. So how do you have relationships with junk removal companies in your area that where they drop off or where you pick up from them? What does that look like today? for you in your business?
We do. That's one of the areas I've had a hard time getting with, because a lot of the times people are stuck in their routine of things. They're like, oh, I just toss it with my sheet steel, or they pitch it because they just don't want to have to deal with it, which bugs the crap out of me, because like you could literally be making a shit ton more money doing this, but a lot of people are afraid of the unknown. So that's one industry I've had a hard time kind of convincing, at least locally, because they just simply don't want to deal with it. I don't know why. I try to convince them. It's like, man, you're a business to make money, but I don't know. I've really had a difficult time getting into that here.
I can tell you from my own personal experience, I didn't really get into e-waste until I started getting yelled at by the scrap yards. That wasn't it. I mean, because I knew I couldn't throw off TVs, but I'll tell you what, when I think back 13 years ago, I took everything to the scrap yard. I'm like, oh, like a vacuum. I'm like, there's got to be metal in there somewhere, right? Like, I cut the cord.
Vacuums.
Man, oh, my God. You know how many vacuums I throw in the scrap pile?
Damn.
Oh, 100%. Man,
Motor.
I was that Dude, 100%. Dude, I was that dirty scrapper, and I get like a locker or like a stand-up locker or something like that, or a fridge. And I throw vacuums inside there. It's only like 7, 10, 12 pounds, but
refrigerator.
Oh my God, refrigerator
all day, every day.
Dude, you fill the inside of that refrigerator with anything and everything. You tip it over. Oh yeah, you good, right? Because they go pick that thing up, it ain't your problem no more. So again, I've done it. Actually, I started getting yelled at the scrapyard for throwing off like VCRs and receivers and shit. Because I knew they won't take laptops. I knew they won't take computers. I knew they won't take TVs. Right? There were some things where I'm like, oh, I know they won't take it. But yeah, what it come down to was like VCRs and shit. They're like, we don't want this. I'm like, well, I'm not going to put it in the landfill. Like, what do you want me to do with it? They're like, work with the EWaste recycler. I'm like, what the fuck's that? Right? Like, I didn't even know where to start. But then you Google it, and then I was looking to like getting R2 E-Steward certified. I was like, I'm going to get certified and start breaking shit down myself. It was $30,000 to do that.
Yep.
So
screw that.
Yeah, $30,000 for an independent organization to get you E-Steward certified. So I'm like, well, I ain't going that route.
Yep.
So over time, I got some resources and figured out some people. And now I take all of our e-waste to one company because they take it all, even projection screens. We used to break down projection screen TVs, and we still do sometimes. Actually, most times we still break them down because just from a space capacity. Right, like the guts of it, you got to keep together. You don't want to be breaking them fucking bulbs and opening shit up. But taking the housing out, right? So that's the screen, the particle board, and the mirror, essentially. Yeah. Everything like the first 18 inches of it, you want to think about from a height perspective, you don't mess with. But a couple swings with a little baby sledgehammer, you'll get it down from 4 or 5 feet high to
mini sledge.
Oh my God, dude, mini sledge. Little 8-pound sledge, 6-pound sledge on a 1 foot throw. That's what I'm talking about.
How many broken mirrors we've had?
What's that?
So how many broken mirrors we've had from doing the same shit on projection TVs?
Oh yeah, if you could, right. You know what it was? It's the fucking plastic ones that throw you off because they wibble and wobble, and then that mirror just gets caught just right, and then it snaps back. Oh, you give me the ones that were particle board. Oh, it's nothing to take those apart because at least you can knock them in certain places. Hell, that was another thing I used to sell 20 years ago at Best Buy. Man, I'm recycling shit I used to sell full circle. I used to get paid. It was like $9.15, $9.35 an hour to sell them. So I'm moving up in this world.
So treadmills. We were scrapping treadmills, obviously, and then this guy. Who do we meet? This guy takes e-waste for free. He won't pay you though. He's like, you can come and dump it here for free, but I'm not paying you. He's like, but we'll pay you $10 a treadmill. And he never told me why. So is there something I'm missing? Is there something in there that's like a sweet honeypot of e-waste?
No, metal. No, there's, even if you were to break, like dismantle and weigh each individual item, like to even out of a treadmill, that would, even out back when the prices were good, maybe it would get close to that. But no, he's got to be like reselling it. That's the only possible way to make sense for that.
I was like, treadmills, I still cut the cord and put them right in my shit iron dumpster.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot. I mean, treadmills got a lot of weight to them.
Yep.
So
random
phones.
Story,
real quick.
Random story about treadmills. Let me tell my damn story.
Let's go, treadmill Andy.
The reason why it's called a treadmill was back in the day, they used a treadmill where they forced prisoners to walk on a treadmill, which turned a stone, which milled fucking flour and things like that. So a treadmill was originally a form of punishment, and then they put that was the original treadmills where you had to walk to create them to turn, right? And then they had treadmills in the turn of the century, and it was a way for prisoners to exercise, right? But that's how it got the name treadmill, and so it was originally used as a form of torture. I read that in this book that was called Fucking History by the captain. It's like 101 stories that you never learned in school. Yeah. So there you go. I'm an educated man. I read.
That's cool. I actually did not know that. That's
there you go. Treadmill. So next time someone's like, you should get your ass on the treadmill, be like, I ain't no prisoner.
Yeah.
Right? Don't wish it evil on, don't wish it evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Sounds like punishment even to this day.
Yeah, I ain't trying to get on no damn treadmill.
Yeah, I would say go ahead, Casey. Or were you about to say something?
Oh, I was just going to talk about the interesting finds about EWaste when I was busting open phones and laptops is how many Apple products have Samsung shit in them. And I remember busting open Mac computers. I'm like, whoa, it's a big Samsung label on whatever this part is. And you bust open a Samsung computer and it's mostly Samsung and other, companies, but it's never Apple. I always thought that was interesting.
They're all Eskimo brothers with it. They all share parts and one way or the other. But yeah, I've never been a big Apple fan, but I will give it to them. Like their hardware is pretty solid. Like how they physically manufacture their stuff is pretty intact. And from a resale perspective, there's always a huge market because
it's Apple
people are fanatics.
So for all these junk removal companies out here, how can they make not just some side money on e-waste, but do it properly? How can they learn more about e-waste? And, hey, I want to make some extra cash. At the same time, now they found one more element to their junk removal service that they can market as well as not have to make that trip to the landfill as much.
I mean, the easiest way is literally just type in electronic recycling near me, and it is growing tremendously. It's still very, very infant, but it is growing. And a lot more scrap yards. If you can't find anything like labeled as an electronic recycler, to literally just contact your nearest scrap yard. If they don't do it, then I guarantee you they'll know another yard that does take, circuit boards or other electronics. Because a lot of the lower end, there are like how scrap yards, some of them will have, their big steel shredders, right?
Yeah.
There's e-waste places that process it the similar manner, but they use like hammer mills and things like that to do it. And then it goes like on a shaker table and it shakes up the different elements. And then based on weight and, other scientific mumbo jumbo, it separates the copper from the brass from the, tantalum, palladium, all that. It's very, very fascinating.
I've seen the chemicals too they use to kind of melt this to this to this.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Andy, did you go to EWaste Expo or something, a conference?
Yeah, I spoke at the EWaste conference, and they had, so they had little demonstrations. Actually, the place that's not too far from us here in Janesville is called URT. They got a big machine that everything goes in, right? Like, and exactly that. Everything gets shredded.
Really?
So I've seen and what you're talking about, I've seen those shredders in the scrap industry because that's what I grew up on. But e-waste, there's just more components to it.
Yeah.
So, I got to make a field. That's on my list here. Q1 is to take a field trip to e-waste processor who has a shredder, right? Because there's plenty of e-waste guys. Like you look at the whole recycling industry, right? There's collectors, that's us, right? Junk removal. Then there's recyclers, right? And that's when they start actually the process, right? And that's your scrap yards, right? They're dealers. They're taking basically the difference between a collector and recyclers. Are you taking third party material?
Yeah.
Right. Like we don't take third party material. So Dylan technically is a recycler, right? And then you have the companies that sort and or separate. And again, sort, we'll call it. And that's a whole nother, it's a part of the process. And a lot of times these processes get combined, right? But then you have the shredder and then you have the smelter.
Yeah.
And some companies do it all, right? But most basically do one or two deviate, one thing and deviate one way or another. Like, so for us, for example, we only take our material, but then we do EWaste Drives, so we take third-party material. So now we went from just a collector to also recycler.
Yeah,
we
sort those drives,
but that's
community, right? That's like a huge marketing thing too.
Oh God, yeah.
So for us, let's talk about EWaste Drives. So you can just look at our damn website and figure this out. So one thing we do is we partner with real estate companies. We'll do 12 EWaste Drives this year. We did 10 last year, 10 or 11. And we basically, on a Saturday morning from 10 to 2, we put on an e-waste drive. And what it does is it does basically three things. First off, it provides a resource for the community. And as a business, that's always our job, is to give first and take care of our local community. It separates us from the big, franchises in the world that are restricted as to what they can and can't do, what they can and can't market. Actually, one of the reasons why we got out of the franchise relationship we had, because I got sick of being told what I couldn't fucking do, right? That's as simple as that one is, right? So provide a resource for the community. Second thing what it does is it develops a relationship you have with the real estate company. Real estate companies are always looking to reach out to people in the community and get in front of people in the community. They want to let them know, hey, when you're ready to buy or sell, we're right here. So now we're physically getting people to drive in their parking lot. Our biggest EWaste events last year had over 300 cars. I think our best one's like 375 cars in 4 hours, right? So now we've driven 350 plus vehicles into their parking lot, which that's a lot of cars considering most people don't go to real estate companies anymore. And then the third thing what it does is it gives us a lot of e-waste to process. Now, we don't make a lot of money on it. We basically, our e-waste events are break even. But it allows us to develop better relationships with our e-waste companies. It shows our guys that there's more opportunity out there to recycle. And it's an opportunity for us to say, hey, look at us. Look what we're doing for our community. There's no government involved. We're not, the state of Wisconsin is not supporting us. The city, the county, they're not paying a dime for it. This is no government intervention, which is the best way to run a business, my perspective, is to show that you can do things and give back to the community, not because you're told to, not because you're supposed to, or what of that, you do it because it's the right thing to do and you provide that service. So yeah, I'm all about doing e-waste events.
I think the biggest thing that you're doing is, the cool thing is, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you got to have something in it for you. Well, absolutely. You have to benefit. Both parties have to benefit. Even nonprofits benefit, right? So whenever you're doing something like a drive, it's going to benefit the community. It's going to benefit you because you're getting your brand out there. You're making those relationships like you're talking about. And it benefits the people that are coming into that, whether it be a church parking lot or whatever, because now they feel like they're doing something responsible with recycling. And, as a business standpoint, that's marketing 101 right there, man, because now you're getting in touch one-on-one with your actual demographic, right? You can, hey, this is my customer right here. This is what I do. And they're going to be like, oh, did you meet Andy the other day? He's loud and obnoxious. But guess what? He recycles. Oh, that's awesome. I know. He's a green guy. The Jolly Green Giant. There you go. Let's use his business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. E-drives are like our favorite thing to do because at least from our perspective, like on the commercial side, most of the commercial shit we purchase because most businesses will want something for their material. Yeah. So that's the best thing about e-waste drives. It's all free, Yeah. So, then even while we're there, we still charge for our TVs, monitors. Yep. We charge for like NiCad, like nickel cadmium batteries, and then everything else is free. And
So you don't make money on NiCad? You don't make money on NiCad batteries?
I have shit. I wish I did. I have yet to find a downstream for NiCad. We do lithiums and nickel metal hydrates. I have not been able to find anywhere to.
NiCad, is that like power tools, like drills and?
Yes. Yeah, like older ones typically.
I wonder if it's because of the casing.
That I'm not sure. I really don't. I haven't also looked into it too much.
My scrapyard would take them if I brought them lead batteries. They say, yeah, you can bring them separately, but you're not getting paid for them.
No, I never got paid for them. No. You were saying lead batteries like a car battery?
No. I brought lead batteries, and then they said you can bring the NiCad batteries separately with those, but we're not paying you for those NiCad. They'll dispose of them, is what they're saying, but they're only going to pay me for the lead acid.
But yeah, then and like you were saying, it's a great way to market. Our typical place that's very easy to do, like do them at churches, because they have a huge congregation they can advertise to. So, and the most successful ones I've noticed is whenever it's much better to do one at a place that has a good target audience and compared to just a random mom and pop shop. Because anywhere that has a good way of advertising it to their own people on top of us advertising it is always great.
Oh, yeah, no. I'd say 85, 90% of the traffic is driven by the individual operator of the business you're going to. I know that because I've done e-waste events for the same exact real estate company at two different locations, and one of them had 300 plus cars and the other one had 30, right? Which means... We're running our same strategy every time. The question is how much are those agents getting out there pounding, putting.
Right.
It doesn't take much. The other thing is for us, I'd say 50% or greater of the people that end up coming to our e-waste events see us day of, because we put a big sign that says e-waste drop-off. I mean, we have people pulling at 11 o'clock, be like, hey, what's this all about? We tell them, like, oh, I'll be back in a half hour. Because it's Saturday morning, right? It's Saturday morning. They're already out there, doing errands and stuff. And it's like you created a demand. And a lot of those people have never heard of our company before, right? So it's like they're not tied into the realtors. They're not tied into us. So those are really the prime customers, because now you've educated them on who we are and what we're doing, and the partner we have with the realtor or the real estate company. And the real estate company loves it when we drive new traffic. Again, if they're just in the parking lot for them 10 minutes, because they're leaving with we leave them with at least a door hanger, postcard size, something. And same with the companies we work with. It's like, it'd be stupid if they didn't leave them, give them something.
And another good thing about the events too is, like, because going back to, a lot of times people would rather, take the easier route than the correct route. So that's one way, it makes the events close. It brings recycling to them, instead of, because sometimes, your facility might not be nearby someone's house, but when you host an event nearby their house, then they'll be more prone to bring their shit to you.
Yeah. We never do. People ask me this why don't you allow drop-offs? And there's a couple of reasons, right? So we never do events at our facility. A couple of reasons. A, I'm in an industrial park, so I don't want people knowing what we do here. The people that are my neighbors, they know what we do here. It's not difficult, but I don't want to advertise what we do here necessarily. And that was always a challenge I had with resale. It's like we'd have a resale shop here at our industrial, within our building in the industrial park. But so then you get people during the week, or you get people creeping on the weekends. It's like, nope, I would rather not have people here. So that's first thing. Second thing is, from a regulatory standpoint, like our building here, we are considered a reverse logistics warehouse, because we don't want to be labeled a transfer facility or a tipping floor, a drop-off location, because that changes your insurance. It can change your permitting. So it's, from my perspective, best not to have it there. Third thing is, chances are, especially if you're in an industrial park, you don't got great frontage. So it's not a good business perspective. Like you said, I never thought about a church. That's interesting. I'm going to 100% plagiarize that, because I know a couple of big, mega churches and target demographics. Yeah, do it on a Saturday. And also, one thing about church folk, right? They're extremely loyal. It's community oriented. So it wouldn't be nothing to get volunteers there. And also get the congregation behind. Because the thing is, when you do it at a real estate company, right, you get whoever they have on their list. But you do it at a church, you get anybody. I mean, geographically, it's probably going to be people in that area.
Oh, you get the shout out from the pastor during service anyways, too.
That's what I'm saying.
The slideshow in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the slideshow, or I don't know if they still do bulletins, but I'm sure they do the email. So now you get the trickle down versus real estate. It's like a one and done. But like, now you're good with Jesus. I always want to get good with the Lord going into business. Ain't no shit.
Dude, we actually, so right in,
might steal that.
It was actually my church. It was my old church. We did a lot of business with them. And, the coolest thing about churches is they know they have to pay for stuff. They're tax exempt, obviously. But if you scratch their back, they're going to always put you in the front. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything comes up, they're going to hit you up first. Hey, we have this awesome opportunity. Are you interested?
No, Ken and AJ, both church-going individuals, right? They got the wife and the kids, so they all look churched up. And
God loves small businesses. It's a fact. It's in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt run a business well.
I'll tell you what, 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, I'm over doing yoga. I'm getting my stretch and meditation on.
That's fine. They got 8, 10, and 1 o'clock services. All you got to do is put a yoga mat in the parking lot, dude.
Oh, God.
Man, it's 6 degrees today. I ain't getting my fucking meditation.
Dude, that's
stretch
why I opened up my window. It's straight pouring sleet right now. It's insane. Like, it looks like snow. My son went out there at first. He was like, "Snow." I'm like, "That ain't snow. That's Suckfest."
Are you at your house? Are you at the house right now, or are you at your office?
No, I'm at the house. I couldn't. That's why I came back home, because it was so bad on the highways. I was like, I'm not gonna get stuck at the office, man.
Oh my God, stuck in the office. You work 2 days a week. Oh, I'm stuck in the office.
I know, man. It's rough.
This guy, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he's in daddy daycare. I talked to him last Tuesday. I was like, "Hey man, what you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm with my boys." I was
I'm watching Geek Master, man.
Yeah, no. He's like, "Yeah, I'm with my boys. One's at school, one's taking a nap."
Yeah.
Like, Like it's one thing to be unemployed. Dude, it's a whole other thing. Roger that. No, we talk about that. You got to work really hard to not have a fucking job, right? That's
well, the coolest thing is
how the hustle goes.
Like the coolest thing is, dude. I got a new couch. We got a new couch a couple months ago, right? And we had our old couch that I've had since I can remember. We put it in the garage, dude. It was in there for probably a good month, just in the garage, because my old Casey is like, I'm not gonna throw that shit away. I could figure something out. Dude, I ended up going to landfill on Saturday with Rylan. We went to the landfill, and the one in Denton. I haven't been to a landfill in so long that I forgot just the whole process in a way. So I'm like driving there. Well, because like I'm behind a guy, right? And he goes forward to go to the window. I'm right on his ass. The lady's like, back up. You're on the scale. And I'm like, well, I thought he was going to pay for me. Like, what are you talking about? They didn't know it was funny.
First of all, how'd you forget? Yeah, this ain't the damn Starbucks line with fucking woke white people.
I wasn't paying attention.
This ain't a landfill.
I wasn't paying attention. I was just like... Honestly, I was in awe looking at all the big machines and equipment with Rylan. I'm like, my God, that's awesome. I'm like paying attention to like, that's such a cool machine.
I'll tell you what. You ask the guys around here, they'll probably tell you I haven't been in a landfill in 10 years. It hasn't been that long. I know how it works, though. You pull up, get your number.
But I will say this one, I've never been to this landfill. My guys have been to this, and now I know why they liked it so much. It is super simple, easy in and out. It's real clean. Yeah. The roads are real well taken care of. And they actually have a dozer guy. All he's doing now, granted it was muddy, but all he's doing is making sure that wherever you're driving is free of any debris. Mm-hmm. That's pretty nice.
Is he in a trash master? With the, it was tires.
Yeah,
that's trash master.
And
so
it was $25
to people.
I was like, this is amazing. I'm down $25. I'll be here again.
Speaking of cool equipment, I've never seen it for my life, and I've only seen it there. It was at the Chicago J-Dog, actually, with Ray Hill. And he has, I don't know, I forgot what it's called, but it's some big truck. It goes to like your roll-off dumpster and has like a big spike roller machine and crushes it down.
That's the biggest waste of money that you can.
Oh, yeah. There's two companies. There's two national franchises that do it. One's Crusher. So it's Crusher without an E.
Smash my ass.
And the other one's Smash my trash. I'll tell you what, though.
That's what I meant to say.
I had both of them come out here. I had a trash master, the Smash My Trash guy come out here to smash my 40-yarder. He got me maybe 6 inches. Yeah. Because we pack ours and pull it tight. And then Crusher, when he first got started, he got into it. Here's what's fucked up about it. They're doing all right. They're selling a lot of franchise. If you read the literature, maybe we'll have one of those cats on one of these days. I know a couple of those guys, franchisees that do it. I looked into it like 5 years ago when I was part of this venture capitalist group.
We both talked about it.
We both talked about it. The challenge I had was it's a really good complement to a dumpster service, right? But we don't offer dumpster service. The other thing is I didn't we load our dumpsters right, and we try to avoid using dumpsters, and we don't like.
Well, that's the thing is, if you know the basic math of dumpsters and you're trying to get your per tonnage down, you're going to pack the crap out of it.
Right. This is where it works. It works when you have job sites with multiple vendors that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So like new house builds where everyone's just throwing in shit.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, right? Because basically, if the dumpster's like 3/4 the way full or almost full, they can crush it down to 1/4.
Yeah.
But with our guys, and the other thing is also, in the other place that makes sense is when you're not walking material in. Where you're throwing it off a dock.
Or even over the side,
Over the side, exactly, off a dock. When you're walking material in like we do on our job sites, we pack it in there tight. So it's not a good service for us. I can see it being a good complementary service. They said a lot of their business they get is
commercial
manufacturers, commercial, and then new home builders. So I'm not opposed to it. The challenge is, and the other reason why you have to go the franchise route is because if you try to, those are patented machines, and part of your franchise is buying the damn smasher. It's like $350,000. Now the advantage is, it's like, well, the thing is, like, I remember looking at the economics of it. They get like $200 a smash, right? Yeah. And you can do like 20 in a day.
Oh yeah.
If you're really, I mean, if you get a neighborhood or a subdivision that's being built, and you go from one to the next, the economics of it, you can have a guy making $2,500 a day up to like $4,000 a day for one guy. Now, the challenge is there's the equipment cost, and it takes like 15 minutes per time.
Labor, maintenance, everything. I mean, right. Like anything.
For me, it doesn't excite me. Right? Like junk removal still excites me.
Yeah.
Our guys today, I was in the backyard for a minute before we got on the podcast here, and they were unloading a truck and a lot of nice stuff. And like I still get excited when I see nice stuff.
Oh God,
like this Miller Genuine Draft NASCAR.
Oh, dude,
tin, dude.
Oh,
Here's the deal. I don't like NASCAR. I've never watched a race in my life. Well, there's something nostalgic about old NASCAR shit.
Hey, Andy, before I left, I'm not even kidding. My last day before I turned it over 100% to the new owner, I went to my recycling warehouse, and I don't know if you remember seeing this, but I had an old Copenhagen sign I had from like my first year, and I fucking got a ladder, went up there, cut the zip ties, and I was like, "This is mine.
It's mine."
Oh, dude, man, my office here is decked out with PBR stuff,
and
Schlitz stuff, old beer stuff from Wisconsin. I don't even drink that much.
Sinclair.
I gotta have
all that stuff sells easy too. We just had this old vintage cassette player thing, but it was like looked like an old jukebox, but it had like Budweiser sticker on it. It was old some vintage shit. It sold like in a few hours on eBay.
God, it's stupid. Oh, I hear it. I got Miller a Miller foam finger #1, right next to my picture of Marilyn Monroe.
Oh God!
Actually, we're Taylor. Taylor, come on in here. Taylor's our producer. He sits in the room next to us, so he can hear us. We can't hear him. Super fucking creepy. But anyways, here, I'm going to have him tell you what.
Breathing.
Taylor, grab your, get the foam thing. Oh, no, I was going to say, I said just grab it real quick. I was going to have him do like a panoramic. Actually, most of our listeners are they're listeners. So, here we go. There's your Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, and then Go Brewers Go. That's 1982. We had one good year. Let's go. I wasn't even alive. Hey, speaking of Go Brewers Go, how about them Eagles? Huh? Fly, Eagles, fly. Casey Bubba Lawrence's least favorite team in the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you what.
Least favorite people in general are Philadelphians.
Well, I know a lot of people in Philadelphia I don't care for. You're not wrong.
Dude, there was a video the night they won. The video, all these people are cheering on top of this bus stop, and they fell through and got hurt. I'm like, that sounds about right. That's when they won the Super Bowl, or just when they won the NFC championship. Yeah, this was yesterday when they won the Super Bowl. I think didn't someone punch a horse and then shit on somebody or something like that? I don't know.
I'm sure.
I think it's crazy, man.
I'll tell you what though, I like people in Philadelphia. People in Philadelphia are hard and I like them. You got fucking Rocky, one of my favorite movies of all time. Cheesesteaks.
When your hero is a fictional character.
Who's your hero in Dallas?
Remember that one time?
Jerry?
What?
Who's your hero? Who's your hero in Dallas?
First of all, it's Fort Worth. All right. First of all,
and that's the worst because no one even thinks of Fort Worth. It's Dallas, Fort Worth.
Exactly. So
who's your hero? Who's the hero of Fort Worth? Mr. Worth?
Well, dude, we have a lot, man. We have a lot of heroes here in Fort Worth.
Name one. Name one.
Oh, let's see. Off the top of my head, TX Whiskey. What are you talking about?
Never heard of them. Who's TX Whiskey? Never heard of them.
Whiskey brand. Oh, they don't sell it there in Milwaukee, do they?
First of all, that's not a person. You just said you're knocking Philadelphia over an official character.
It's a hero.
You have
hero.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I got to see who
we is. We have the bronze Fonz on the Riverwalk, which is pathetic.
The bronze Fonz.
The Fonz from Happy Days. There's like 3 TV shows that have been based in Wisconsin. So Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, in the bottling plant incident with the beer bottles.
Yes, wow.
I'm trying. I can't think of any other shows that were based on. I remember Step by Step.
Sanford and Son was St. Louis. Actually filmed at a St. Louis scrapyard.
Okay, there's a goddamn hero right there. Give me Sanford and Son.
Yep.
God,
I can't tell you how many. Even my dad still calls me that to this day. What's going on, Sanford?
No doubt. No,
right.
That's funny.
Andy, check this out.
What am I checking out?
Bill Paxton from Fort Worth. Owen Wilson, Fort Worth. Larry Hagman. Man,
come on. Wouldn't Luke Wilson? Wouldn't Luke Wilson also be from?
Yeah, Luke and Owen. Yeah. Vanilla Ice. There's my hero. Vanilla
For the record,
Ice.
Actually, you know what? I knew that because I saw him live in the Stockyards. That time I came and visited you.
Did you?
I went to. I did. I saw Vanilla Ice perform at where's that? The Stockyards where they got.
Yeah.
I tell you what. I'll tell you what, that was one of the best nights of my life.
That's
I
a
went
great
and got
place.
barbecue.
Yeah, that's a great
And then
place.
I went to and then right across, you walk across the street or whatever it was, dirt road, because it's fucking Texas.
Yeah.
And it's a venue that has like 7 layers. Like the first layer is like
Billy
the
Bob's.
bar. And you go off to, is that where, yeah. Then
Yeah,
you go
you
off
went
to
to
the
Billy
left
Bob's.
and they got then they have the bull riding.
They have a small,
Right, and
they have
you
an
go
actual
to-
small rodeo in Billy Bob's too. Small arena.
That's what
Yeah.
That's what I saw. They had the bull riding, like full on, right? And you go down one level, like this set of stairs, and then it's like fucking pool tables and like some nasty ass pool sharks, like Casey's kind of people, right?
Yeah.
And then the next level down is
Dance
thing old
floors.
country line dancing.
Yeah.
Which I'll tell you what, as a straight man, I was intimidated. I'm like, I can't do that. First of all,
Hey, man.
them jeans are too tight.
Those Wranglers and
I don't know
buckles,
about-
man.
But my God, Wranglers and buckle and knee slapping and hee-hawing, I had enough. I couldn't do it. Right, and then you get down to the next level, and it's like a dance
Concert.
floor, and then you're right, and then there's a stage that I saw Vanilla Ice perform at. So we went there. I met this chick in Dallas who was friends with a friend, Bobby, our videographer at the time. He was sick, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going out. I'm going hard. And so we went out, and we got to the front door, and it was like, whatever, $15 to get in, because you have to pay just to get in the joint.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, or for $75, you can get tickets to Vanilla Ice, bull riding, and something else. I was like, yeah, we're doing that. We're
Yeah,
100%.
$15 to get in or $75 to have an experience of a lifetime.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, that was 4 years ago, and I'm still talking about it.
Dude, where else can you go to a rodeo and stop, and
Vanilla Ice.
collaborate, and then listen?
There was listening. Here's the pitch of it. He started letting people up on stage, and it was like, only like decent looking chicks at first, like, oh, you can come up. So the girl I was with, she got up on stage, and then they just started letting anybody up on stage, and I didn't get up on stage. It was the one time in my life. Exactly. It was like the one time in my life I thought before I acted out. So they let like 15, 20 dudes up there, and then they're like, all right, no more. We got to have, man, I should have got up there. Dude, they did the Ninja Turtles song. I mean, Vanilla always only has 3 songs. He did, put it this way, he did Ice Ice Baby twice.
You have to.
Because he sang it like early in his set, and then
Yeah.
he came back for the encore with Ice Ice Baby. Because what else do you come back with? I mean, that's the top of the mark.
Yeah, I should have went with you.
There you go, Fort Worth. All right, I'll look up Heroes of Milwaukee here in a second.
Oh, boy.
Real Heroes of Milwaukee.
Oh,
I don't even
speaking
know.
of, Andy.
Speaking of,
Real quick,
Andy,
I saw a
I'm
video the
Andy.
other day. It was like a meme video, right? Like a joke video, but it was funny. It reminded me of you.
I got jokes. Was it funny?
This woman
I'm
came
funny.
out
I
and she
got
starts
jokes.
yelling at her husband. She's pissed. She's like, I cannot believe you spent $800 on that. And it shows him and he's holding this gigantic, obnoxious,
Oh yeah, the
stupid
Milwaukee
flashlight.
I saw that this morning.
It's like a million lumens, but it's a million
Yeah,
lumens.
he's like, but it's a million lumens. Yeah, it was a garbage can. No, that was a good joke. That was a good move. Yeah. She's like pregnant and shit. She's like, we ain't got money for this.
I'm like, that's a good buy.
But he's like, million lumens.
Yeah, but I mean, come
That's
on.
you know what?
I could burn a hole
That's
through
right.
the garage. What are you talking about?
Here's the deal. That's what we need as a sponsor for this show. The Milwaukee World headquarters is 5 blocks away from me. Like I drove past it this morning. I
Imagine picking up their scrap.
Let me
Oh,
shoot
yeah,
them
no.
an email.
They ain't calling me. They ain't calling me for their scrap.
That'd be amazing. That'd be freaking amazing.
I'll tell you what. Well, here's what's fucked up. I used to be a sales rep for Black & Decker and DeWalt, and there's a Home Depot that's only about 5 or 6 blocks away from here, and I was a DeWalt rep there, right? And I was raised on yellow, and it is the closest Home Depot to the Milwaukee headquarters. So we got our asses kicked. Like they would have an end cap. They had this big, huge display. Like every time I went in there, I'm like DeWalt was like back in the corner. Like it didn't matter what I did, and every day the Milwaukee rep was there because like the VPs and shit from Milwaukee would go stop at that store. Like that was their how are we doing at Home Depot today? Check in. And whenever we had like tool days and events and stuff like that at that store, it didn't even matter if I showed up. They'd have 10 reps there against me, and I was like 20 years old, didn't know my ass from a hole in the wall. But anyways, there we go. There's my how did I get here today story. I know retail. That's why I know about batteries, like their NiCad batteries and all that. You're right. Yeah, they went DeWalt. They all had NiCad batteries, and then I think Makita was one of the first ones to come out with the lithium ions, and they were so much lighter and more powerful. They lasted longer. And that's when DeWalt came out with a 32 volt lithium ion, which was just absurd. 32 volt or 40 volt, I don't know. Now they got the 40s, like the 20s and the 40s.
They have a full-on battery concrete saw, DeWalt.
Or 36. That's the 40 volt. Yeah, that's the 40
insane.
volt. Oh, yeah.
It's torquing
How long it lasts.
Dude, a chainsaw or, concrete saw. That's the thing. How long can you cut with a concrete saw? Like, the only concrete saws I don't even like using electric concrete saws. Like, when I did concrete work, gas
water
power,
and gas, man.
You need as much torque as possible. Anyways, what the fuck are we talking about? We got all over the place. This is why we do this podcast.
Top 3 takeaways.
Yeah.
Top 3 takeaways. Are you ready for top 3 takeaways? You're stretching over there. All right, let's get to it. All right, this has been the Trash Talk Business Podcast. Let's get to it. Casey, kick it off. What is your top takeaway from the day?
There's a whole lot more to junk removal than just throwing shit away. And that includes e-waste. So if you can recycle your electronics, do it, because it's not just good for the environment. It could also be good for your wallet. Hit up Dylan as well, because he has a lot of good pointers. And the second top takeaway is, the only thing I can say is fuck Rocky Balboa, man.
Oh, my God. Of all things, Rocky is a goddamn hero with 8 movies. 8 movies to his credit, okay? 8.
Yeah. That's only my top
5.
2. Oh, actually, I do have 3 takeaways.
Rocky 5.
I do have 3. My last one.
Third take.
And I'll give it back to you, Andy. My last one. Instead of breaking down a computer like towers, just keep them all together. Sell them as a whole. Because you're going to kill your whole hand, your time. It doesn't make sense to take that shit apart.
I'm almost positive I told you that years ago. You didn't believe me. Actually, I know I told you that.
Yeah, and we constantly, we don't constantly, I guess depending on what kind of unit we get, but we have like a database of time studies and weight studies on everything. We'll do a time study.
Oh, dude.
Okay,
he'd love that.
Oh my God.
So you break it down, you put it in. I have like a database I made where I just plug in the numbers with the current scrap pricing and whatnot. So then we know exactly how much we're making on teardown for, So that's the smartest way to do it.
Yeah, then you know how long it should, and also how long, right, if it's 15 minutes and, it's $50, okay. Mm-hmm. But if it ain't, whatever the math, right, whatever the dollars per hour math is,
well, I think you and I talked
the
about
employees can do it.
It was like 3 minutes per tower would have to be the break. Like, hey, that's when you're breaking even or you're making $1 or something. I don't know. But it was like 3 minutes. It was real tight.
It was 3. Correct. It was 3 minutes per board.
Yeah.
You have to be fast.
You have to extract every board in under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That was is it worth it?
And that's why we've. Oh.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's why we've had such a hard time and such a massive, which I hate it. We're still dealing with it to this day, but it's such a massive turnover rate on like our teardown employees because people can't keep up. Like it's so difficult to. And that just comes down to the whole worker shortage issue right now, which is a whole nother topic. But it's been hard to find anyone who can actually keep the proper pace. That can understand and remember what each category is. Because a lot of people are like, they just don't freaking remember. Oh, wait, is that a Pentium 4 motherboard? Is that Pentium 3? Is that a colored knockoff motherboard? So it's definitely e-scrap's definitely a whole different ballgame than normal scrap metal. So people who are go ahead, sir.
I would say no. Well, the difference with what we do with recycling versus manufacturing, because it's a lot of the same thing, right? Manufacturing is you're building, but it's the same components. The difference with recycling and manufacturing is manufacturing there's very controllable variables. Mm-hmm. In recycling, we don't control the variables. So one day you might get a bunch of really, really good computers, and the next day you might get a bunch of shit computers. And so, and then remembering right what you're looking for and looking at. That's just a whole nother can of wax.
Well, there's CPUs inside.
Labor shortage.
What are they called, Dylan? CPUs? Those chips?
Processors.
Yep. Those processors. Yeah. I think I talked to you. Like some of them are worth $50 just for one, but you don't know until you break them open and find out, what it is. Then you have to search for it. The time alone is insane just to figure out, it's only worth 20 cents, not $50.
So the easiest trick around that is you'll have. And once you get into it, you'll know like the different generations of processors. And on the front, you'll have the little stickers by where you'll see like your Windows sticker. You'll have your Intel or like whatever processor you have in there. And then based on the generation, they'll have like a little shiny sliver on top in the center. or, going around the square processor sticker. And that's the easiest way to know what generation it is. So then okay, this is resale versus scrap.
So I got an Intel Core i5 processor on my computer. What does that mean?
That's resale. Yeah, any i series. So that's what's in the e-scrap world. They call i series. All that's worth it. I series boards.
i7.
Yep, that's good. Any i series
i7,
processor and circuit board.
Jesus, this motherfucker, he's got to one up me.
Actually, it's 2 up. Fuck your 5.
See, we just got in for the first time some i9s the other day. That was the first time we've ever gotten in i9s. Those are still brand new. Just the board itself was like over $700. It's unbelievable. Someone just dropped it off for free. It's disgusting.
I'll take that action,
dude. Y'all hear that? No.
Yeah. What the hell was
something.
That was thunder.
Kid.
We have a thunderstorm. There's no rain. It's just ice.
That's weird.
What the hell's going on?
Texas.
Take cover.
All right, Dylan. Top takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest way is just, being efficient and trying to show people that, there is a place to go with your electronics. It's much easier. It's much easier than you think. You just got to kind of look into it and find a place.
No, there we go. So simple. Simple is the name of the game, right? Even with you, Dylan, what you said was Google it, right? All the information is available and out there. The question is, what are you willing to put the time and effort into? When I talk about the different streams of recycling and commodities, I always tell people, and you said the same thing yourself here, Dylan, hit the nail on the head. Start with scrap.
Yeah.
Right. You start with scrap and you work your way work your way against that. And then whenever I talk about commodities, right, what is it you get a lot of and either has a lot of weight or a lot of space? So, you can go like the mattress route where it don't weigh a lot, but it takes up a lot of space, whether it's space in your trailer, space in your warehouse, right? Mm-hmm. Or weight. And then you're talking about things that are, heavy in nature. And sometimes that's e-waste, right? Because there's a cost associated, right, weight or space. And then you go from there. So people out there that want to get into the e-scrap business, start doing it. Mm-hmm. I would challenge you and encourage you, look into it. Like just a little bit of knowledge Dalen gave us just now. Hey, if it's fucking core processor or better, that's got something to it. Hell, I'm going to start telling my guys looking for stickers. It's only a sticker. You don't have to open it up. Just look at the damn sticker.
Yeah.
Yep, and all those are going to be worth more, right? Because if I got that versus a laptop that doesn't have it, right, a $50 or $100 or $500 processor, catch those and get those wins.
Well,
and start simple. Don't, if you try to take on everything all the time, all at once, you will.
You're going to fail. Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
I've made that mistake early on trying to, do it, so many different things at once.
Like, hell, Andy, I mean, I think you remember when I was first getting into e-waste, I had I want to say 15 different items. I'd have this, and then I was like, this is insane. So I just kind of shrunk it down to, 7 main avenues of recycling e-waste. And that was it.
No, I remember when I had the businesses across the country, all of them were like, all right, we want to recycle these 10 things. I'm like, but you're not going to be successful recycling 10 things day one. Get good at one. We've talked about this program before, and this, nail on the head. Even once you get into e-waste, start with the highest value commodities first.
Yeah.
Start with the computers, or start with resale, or look for the DVD VCR combos and sell a couple on eBay or Facebook Marketplace to see if you have an aversion for it. I'll tell you what, I thought, oh man, I'm going to sell a bunch of shit on eBay. I don't get off to it. It's not that exciting. I don't like packaging stuff. I don't like going to the dang old UPS store or the mail or the right. I don't like doing that. Now, my resale guy loves that shit. Like he walks into FedEx or UPS, he's like a fucking hero because they see him every day, right?
Carrying a big stack of boxes.
Oh my god, 100%. Like I tell you what, I don't even like the feeling of cardboard. I don't want to be putting shit in boxes and packing peanuts. No part of that sounds exciting to me. So also fit in with your natural veins, right? When it comes to junk removal, my challenge to you is simple: keep shit out of the landfill. That's it. That is the overarching thing. If you tell me, hey, I'm going to break everything down to the last little piece of fucking nickel or gold or platinum I can find, I'd be like, awesome. If someone else is like, I don't give a shit, I put it in a Gaylord and ship it on down, awesome. I will support you 100%. Now, if you black bag stuff and put it in a landfill, fuck you. That's as right. That is as simple as it is, right? We only got one planet. Let's not destroy it. That's the soapbox I'm going to stand on and encourage you, right? It is simple to recycle. It is simple to keep things out of the landfill. As professionals, right? We get paid every day. As professionals in the junk removal industry, it's on us to ensure that we are developing and adhering to the best practices. So as always, we will bring on the experts like Dylan to teach you the best practices. But I encourage you, follow up with Dylan, meet your e-waste companies that are, any e-waste company within 50 miles of you has got to be a resource. If you're a major metropolitan area, you will find somebody somewhere. And also reduce the stigmas. Dylan said himself he struggled, getting a hold of junk removal companies. Go out there. Like, is there a little competition? Yeah, maybe if he's picking up commercial grade stuff from a commercial job, right? But there's a way to get out there and actually collaborate. We've talked about this in the past. So that's the other takeaway I'll have. Collaborate with companies that do reorganization or, reorganization specialists. Collaborate with companies that build shelves or build rec rooms. Collaborate with companies that do e-waste. Because, regardless of where you are in the stream, there are people to your left and your right that you can collaborate with. Because they're not necessarily going to want to pull it out of the house. You might find someone like Dylan that says, hey, I don't want to charge people to go to their houses, but I'll give them your card and your reference. Just bring the material here. And that's a win-win. So that's the word of the day, right? Be professional, be responsible, and collaborate your asses off.
Can I add something too?
Please.
So one biggest thing, which I don't know your guys' philosophy or opinions on grants and whatnot, but that's a huge thing, at least for recyclers. And the money's there out there. Track your numbers. Track every freaking weight you have. Anything that goes across any scale, freaking track that shit so you can. There's
100%.
So much fucking money out there that the government and not even government, private organization are giving away. Right. So utilize that to get new equipment and everything.
No, to that point, we actually applied for a grant here in Wisconsin to offset some of the costs of our e-waste events. And we were going to do, we do the e-waste events regardless, but if we can offset some cost, absolutely. Yeah. And then to your other point, I always talk about KPIs, right? Track your numbers. I can tell you, I tracked the first year, I tracked how many scrap runs we took into the scrap yard, right? Every single one of them, every single dollar amount, I tracked every single one. Now, the flip side is like with the e-waste recycler that we work with now, they track all of it for us. Mm-hmm. But at the end of last year, so in Wisconsin, we're a certified e-waste hauler. We had to report all of our numbers, right? Because they want to know how much are we hauling. And all I did is I reached out to URT. I was like, hey, pull my report. This is what I need to know. They sent me everything, and I sent it up to the state. Yeah. So you're not wrong. As you step up your professional game in junk removal, right? It's not just, I see all these Facebook groups and people are like, oh, this is my minimum at the landfill and the price per ton. Mm-hmm. Man, that's entry level. That's you got to step your fucking game up. Like, that's it, right? If that's the only number you're thinking about, you probably didn't make it this far in this episode, or you didn't make it to episode 46 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, because it's about tracking everything and being professional. It's not just about how much do I get paid from this job. It's how do I build the life I want to live in this industry, right? When regulations can continue to get more stringent, customers are going to demand that you recycle more, because that's the direction our country is going and the direction our planet is going. So you better get on the bandwagon.
Well, what's your edge,
you're going to go out there, right?
Hey,
you're going to go out there and just be chucking it. Yeah, if you're going to be chucking a truck that dumps shit illegally or black bags TVs, this industry don't fucking need you.
Yeah,
right. Go work in another industry with lower standards. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm going to continue to challenge y'all. Also, as I challenge you, I'm also going to give you the answers. One of the nice things about what I've been able to do and Casey's been able to do is we've been able to be successful enough to go out and attend conferences and go places so we can get the best answers. Casey talked about earlier that I was at an e-waste conference in New Orleans last year. I learned a lot there. Last week, I was at the National Waste and Recycling Association conference and met some of the big players with Republic Services and WM. I met them there to get those answers to bring to you. But here's your opportunity. May 1st through the 4th, New Orleans, we will be there, Casey and I, at WasteExpo's Waste Conference.
We'll be there too.
Are you going to be there too, Dylan?
Yep. Yeah, I went to the one last year in Vegas.
Were you there? I was there. I was in Vegas.
Maybe it was the year before. But whatever one was in Vegas, I went to the Waste Expo.
Shit. Oh shit! I don't know how we didn't. I don't know how the hell we didn't. Well, I mean, it was like
we might not have known each other then.
5,000. No, we knew each other, but it's probably like 5,000 people there. All right, there you go. So Dylan, Casey, and I will all be there May 1st through the 4th. Taylor will put up in the link. They reached out to me. They knew about our podcast, so they gave us a code to get a discount on your ticket. So cool. Excited to be there. I got a couple speaking engagements while I'm there. So opportunity for you to not just learn from everybody else, hang out with myself and Dylan, pick our brains, right? Whether it's the podcast or in person, our job is to teach you the best practices so that you can build the company, that you want and your community desires for long-term sustainability. So there's the plug. Come out to the Waste Conference, the WasteExpo. It is the WasteExpo, New Orleans. I found out recently, opening night ceremony is at the World War II Museum.
Oh, wow.
So, dude, when I was in New Orleans last year for the
said they have a badass museum.
It's it's allegedly the best World War II museum in the country.
Really?
Well,
It's like the official World War II museum. Whatever.
Yeah, because we're getting.
All I know.
So that's interesting because Arlington's getting the Medal of Honor museum. It's supposed to be like the biggest one. So that makes sense. The South just keeps adding to its assets, man. We're just awesome.
The South. Well, that's because. Well, I don't know if I'd say you're awesome. Old Dallas, Fort Worth.
We got rid of Kellen Moore. Hallelujah.
Jeez. All right. God bless. All right. Any last words? Alibis, bitches, gripes, complaints.
No, just freaking recycle, man. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean, you're not causing damage to the environment.
I like it. All right. On behalf of Casey Bubba Lawrence and Dylan down there in St. Louis, I'm Andy Weins. Thank you for joining us on another amazing episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.